New flavor. Pretty good. Here at Tattoo Tabletop, we have a lot of fun, so be sure to like, share, subscribe. It's all completely free and it helps me out. And if you really want to help me out, come join our Patreon. Link is in the description where you can come post and talk about your favorite minis. Now back to the video. Welcome to the variety show that is Tattoo Tabletop. My name is James, and today we are talking about the Flesh Eater Courts and their new book, their new Battletome that just came out. First and foremost, the cover here is nice, grotesque, gotta love it. But, I just want to talk about the book. How is it? Well, first and foremost, just a quick cursory look. I'm just going to let you know right now. This book actually has some of my favorite new art, which for me is a huge win. I know I'm not going to show off a ton here, but like just that art piece alone is absolutely incredible. Like the color, the textures, I absolutely adore it. But that's not why you're here. You're here to ask the rules. How do the Flesh Eater Courts play? How are they shaking up now? So we are officially at that point where I think a lot of Battletomes are actually shifting how their rules are being written, changing more prolifically from the index itself, and the Flesh Eater Courts are no exception. The long gone are the noble deeds. The noble deeds are no longer a mechanic into the Flesh Eater Courts. For better or for worse, I know a lot of people who really didn't like the noble deeds. I liked the idea, but the stats that they were given made it kind of difficult for them to achieve those noble deeds. When I think of things like the Archregents and stuff like that, they have a 5-up save and a 6-up ward. They were being picked out with no problem whatsoever. They were really not built for tough. So they were dropping immediately, which meant you didn't get your noble deeds, which means you didn't get your recursion, which means you didn't get everything else after the fact. So what has replaced it? Well, now what the Flesh Eater Courts have are delusions, which, very appropriate for the Flesh Eater Courts. Kingdom Deluded. Basically, you pick a delusion from the battle traits, because there's 2 in the battle traits, or unless otherwise specified, from a war scroll of a friendly unit, and that is part of that. So that's one thing I do want to dive into right away. So the first things first, your delusions are based around these 2 generic ones, and then of course it's based on what you bring in the army. What unit you're bringing or what model you're bringing might have its own specific delusion, which is kind of a fun mechanic. It does add another layer into the list building for the Flesh Eater Courts. That means that you're actually having those moments where, oh, well, if I bring this guy, maybe he doesn't do a lot, but he gives me this delusion, and that's going to make the army much more effective. It's a nice mechanic. I do think it works. And another addendum to it, one of the effects is, so when you pick your first battle round, when it's in the first battle round, you pick your delusion, and it just happens. There's no qualms about it. The second battle round on, you roll a d6, make a delusion roll, as it's called. On a delusion roll of 1 or 2, you must pick a different delusion than the one you picked last turn. 3 or 4, you must pick the same delusion you had last turn, even if the model that had the delusion was destroyed, which is actually kind of an interesting mechanic in there. And then on 5 or 6, you must pick a delusion like you did in the first round, so you just get to choose whatever, and you can just make it happen. And you believe that delusion for the rest of it. So what are the delusions? I'll kind of give you just like a brief rundown of some of them, because there's obviously with a lot of different models in here that have very different delusions, it does all work very differently. So, for example, one of the main delusions, or one of the generic delusions here is, when you believe this delusion, each time a friendly Flesh Eater Courts unit holds within 12 of a Flesh Eater Courts hero uses a run ability, to roll a 1 or 3, you get a 4. So it just makes all your runs 4s at the bare minimum. And then while a friendly Flesh Eater Courts infantry hero is within combat range of friendly Flesh Eater Courts infantry that has 5 or more models, that hero is not visible to enemy units more than 6 away. That one's called Splendid Pageant. Right off the bat, I actually do like that delusion, because I like the idea of you're flooding the board, you're moving quicker, your minimum run rolls of 4, and keeping your heroes within 5 models and making the enemy units more than 6 away and making them invisible is massive. Because one of the things that I found very, very early on in the index version of 4th was that the bane of my existence was Lumineth Realm Lord. They could easily just move up, look at my hero, shoot it, no noble deeds, no points, immediately dropped, no ward saves, just gone, and then they just ran back. it really just neutered the army aggressively. Having a delusion like that, at least in your tool chest, is something that I think will really benefit them. So that's one thing that you have right off the bat with Flesh Eater Courts is you have delusions. You still get your noble blood, so aberrants heal D3 every hero phase, once per turn in your hero phase. Now the recursion, the summon loyal subjects, is now 1 CP. So it's no longer, again, noble deeds were built around it. Now it's no longer. You save 1 CP and you can pick a friendly aberrant unit and then pick a friendly serfs or knights unit that's been destroyed. Set up half the unit, hold within 6 of the edge, hold more than 9. The muster guard, which is the nobles one, is once per turn your movement phase. No CP required, and that one just puts 3 serfs, 3 models if they're serfs, wholly within 12, or 1 knight if they're wholly within 12. So a little bit simpler, a little bit more straightforward. The one thing that is massive here is Feeding Frenzy, with Noble Deeds being Noble Deeds gone, is now just a once per battle. And you pick a friendly Flesh Eater Court hero in combat and add 1 to the attacks of the melee characteristics, including weapons, companion weapons, and used by all friendly Flesh Eater Courts units while they're wholly within 12. So it's 1 hero and it's wholly within 12, and it's once per battle. So that one does kind of sting a little bit. I understand, obviously, they removed the mechanic that, gave you your noble, that, like, they removed the mechanic, they removed noble deeds for you to earn that to be constantly going off. So streamlines it up a little bit. We won't go too much into battle formations. You have +1 rend for knights that charged. Lords of the Manor is still there. Replace. Each time a friendly model is replaced, to add an extra 1 on a 4-up, you can return a knight. So that's up to date with all of that. Yeah, nothing too crazy here, but spells are right where you expect them. You still have Deranged Transformation, the bread and butter. Add 2 to the movement, +1 to wound, and it goes off on a 6, which is great. Charnel Feast, same thing. I will say I do like the change to Miasma of Madness that goes off on a 7. Basically, something within 18 enemy unit, make the roll, goes off on a 7 until the start of your next turn. For each unmodified hit roll of 1 for a combat attack made by the target, inflict 1 mortal damage on the target after the fight ability has been resolved. I love that. I think that is a great one because I think that that's going to be almost kind of a nice anti-horde. When you have models that are going to make a lot of attacks like clan rats or something like that, you can put that on them, and then when they run into you, even if they don't care, they'll just roll a lot of dice, and for every one they roll, they're taking a mortal wound. I love that. I think that's a great mechanic. And even for some bigger monsters, that have a lot of attacks, you might just be like, all right, well, this unit might die, but I'm going to get as many mortal wounds in as possible by having them hopefully roll once. It's a nice little mechanic. I think it's fun. So that's a nice little change there. Actually, a good amount of change in the prayers, which is actually kind of nice. There's still the Eternal Conviction and goes off on a 4. That gives you a 5-up ward, 10-up. It goes off. It gives you another unit, one that can turn off wards if it's a 10+, and also until the start, there's 1 excommunication. Pick a visible enemy unit. Ignore positive modifiers to save rolls for the target. So that's actually a really nice one. That also goes off on a 4. So that's actually a really nice mechanic as well. You have your Endless Spells, which did get a little bit of a change. Time will tell. I think the Chalice is probably the most useful one. But let's just go into some of the highlights. So Ushiron's the same as Oshiron has always been. In his case, I'll just go over what his delusion is. His delusion specifically is add 1 to run rolls and charge rolls for friendly Flesh Eaters, subtract 1 from run rolls and charge rolls for enemy units, and melee weapons used by friendly serfs have anti-charge run +1 rend when they are within friendly territory and did not charge in the same turn. So it kind of stops you from like an alpha strike. That really doesn't stop you a whole ton because they'll probably kill what they're about to run into. And then his other big ability is he is still the epicenter of delusion, but he can modify a delusion roll by +1 or -1. So might make the difference. So I think he's still kind of an auto include. He's still an absolute beat stick, and he still has his glimpse of delusion, and still has his Shroud Cage fragment to first strike last. I still think he's going to be in there. But let's talk about the real hero. When you're taking a break from your latest quest, the Bellows Bistro has exactly what you need. Located next to the Forge in Chaska with a fantastic fantasy setting, a wide selection of unique food items that will be sure to satisfy the adventurer in you. While you open up that new pack of Magic the Gathering cards, maybe play some board games or just take in the aesthetic. This will for sure become a staple for you in the future. Thank you to the Bellows Bistro for sponsoring this video. The real hero here, the Aberrant Ghoul King on Royal Terrorgeist. This guy is gonna be gross. His delusion, add 1 to the attacks characteristics of companion melee weapons used by friendly Flesh Eater Courts units that are wholly within 12. So companion, which means monsters, or yeah, or Ushran, just monsters. It's monsters. So that one's already pretty great. When he charges, his charge phase, his combat phase ability, roll a dice on a 3+, add 1 to hit rolls made with the companion melee weapons. So that takes his Terrorgeist Fanged Maw and his Skeleton talons up to 3s. And yeah, so that's 3s, 2s, and that's a lot of damage. So he can absolutely just run over something. So if we're going to take away anything from this review, this is what you can take away. Monster Mash is real, and it's going to hurt. I'm actually building this guy I plan on building this guy as we speak, because he is an absolute beat stick. Again, just trying to keep this nice and short. There's obviously plenty of other people who gone into extreme detail. Now, if at any point you do want me to go into extreme detail, please comment down below. Let me know if that's something you want me to see. You want me to do some more of that. And of course, there's a chance that in the future I'll start doing live streams. And on these live streams, I can also start going through these books like that. And then, of course, just upload it to the YouTube later for you. So Monster Mash, that's what you should take away from this. One change that I personally also really made me kind of sad is the Archregent, Aberrant Archregent. He always made it into my list specifically because he was a 2-cast wizard. He is now a 1-cast, which hurts. He still does have his Countless Servants ability. So in the hero phase, well, in this case, I think he's got to roll. In this case, he has to roll dice. If I recall, he didn't have to roll dice for 3 up, return 3 slurfs, 1, return 1 knight. And his delusion is subtracting 1 from hit rolls for shooting attacks that target friendly Flesh Eater Courts while they're wholly within 12 of a Flesh Eater Courts hero. Not terrible. Significantly less casting going on for the Flesh Eater Courts. I mean, everybody's got, Wizard 1 somewhere usually. If it's got an Aberrant nearby, Ushran is still his 2, which is great. Again, still kind of makes him an auto-include. High Falconer Felgrim, he's got some things, but I don't think he's going to be the linchpin of a list by any stretch of the imagination. Cardinal's definitely going to be in there because your priests are going to be a lot stronger this time around. I do see Ghoul Kings on foot making their way around. Gore Warden seems really solid. Gore Warden actually gives you a deep strike ability, which is incredible. It gives you patrolling the borders, and he can pick him and 2 friendly Flesh Eater Courts units, not just flyers, like 2 friendly Flesh Eater Courts units. So any of them, which is really, really cool. I like that idea. That will add a nice little bit. The Marrow Scroll Herald has definitely taken a hit. He still offers up the bone. It is within 6 now, which is plus. However, on a 3+, your opponent makes the decision either to have the infected keyword or receive strike last. Spoiler alert, the infected keyword is still you roll a 5 up whenever they declare a command, do a spell or prayer. It just doesn't happen. On a 5 up, I think your opponent's just going to take that. Like, it's not enough of a disincentive for them to all right, I'm just going to take strike last for sure. I'd rather just eat that. No, if it was on a 3 up or a 4 up, I think maybe a 4 up would probably be the more reasonable one. Then it would be more of a conundrum for your opponent to be like, all right, I'm offering you bone. Do you want me to 3 up ignore your have your commands and your prayers and your spells not happen, or would you rather just strike last? That one would actually put them in a bit of more of a conundrum. So he's kind of taking a little bit of a hit. Otherwise, just about everything, at least stat-wise, is just about the same with a few changes to abilities. The Vargo of Courtier kind of got a little bit of a hit. He's now a beast. Well, I mean, he was a beast before, but now he's keyword beast, so he only has a control score of 1. But you know what? Let's just speed this up here, because a lot of this stuff is still the same. The Corpse Mirror Stampede is kind of ridiculously nonsensical. Definitely seems overly complicated. Not overly complicated, but it seems like a bit much for what it is. If anything, I'll still just be summoning it as, a barricade. I'll literally just be using it as here, I'm blocking your movement kind of a thing. That's just it for that. Moves 12. Again, how do I feel about this book? It is a good book. It is a great book. I think the Flesh Eater Courts are going to see some tournament results from this for sure. They're absolutely going to show up. They're going to do well. The main list you are absolutely going to see is Monster Mash Flesh Eater Courts. That's for sure going to happen. You're going to have Terrorgeist, you're going to have the Aberrant Ghoul King on Terrorgeist. He's absolutely going to use it. You're going to use you're going to use your formations to get your best abilities. You're going to get +1 to hit on your companion attacks for your Aberrant Ghoul King. You're going to get a lot of extra companion attacks, period. Even just when you give him, I believe it's Savage Beyond Reason. Let me just double check that. Yeah, heroic trait, Savage Beyond Reason. Add 1 to the attacks characteristics of your unit's melee weapons, including companion weapons. And if it did not use a fight ability in the previous turn, add 2 to the attacks characteristics. So you're getting +2 if you didn't fight the time before, and then you charge into combat. You roll 3 up. You're getting +1 to hit. And if you pop off the delusion, now you're getting an extra attack. So you're going up to potentially 10. Not to mention, he also does have another combat ability where you pick an enemy unit. And for each champion, standard bearer, musician in the attack unit, +1 to the attacks characteristic. So if you run him into a unit that does have multiple standard bearers, musicians, and stuff like that, his talons go up to 10 attacks, hitting on 3s, 2s, -1, 2 damage, which -1's whatever, but it also has crit mortal. So he's absolutely going to destroy some things. So that is going to be the list that you're for sure going to see. Do I think you can run the army in a ghoul heavy list? Maybe. I don't know. I feel like the difficult part with them is the survivability, and not to mention taking away the bonus of feeding frenzy the way that it used to work before. You had your ghouls who were able to do, get up to 3 attacks per in a block of 20, which is great. And if you all had attacked them with deranged transformation, you would be looking at 3s, -1, 1, because you'd be Whole Youth and 12 of a Noble or an Aberrant. With crit autos, there are some things that they absolutely could take down. Now, at the points cost they are at, you could run a ton of them, an absolute ton of them. But the big thing that makes them scary are the buffs you have to give them. You have to be able to give them an all-out attack, and you need deranged transformation on them. Now, you're going to need enough heroes to pass deranged transformation out to however many ghouls spread across, which this is also part of why some people, I think, just run Crypt Guard. It seems less and less likely, as opposed to, I think if you put the ghoul list, an all ghoul list, or ghoul focused list into the Monster Mash Flesh Eater Quartz units or Flesh Eater Quartz army, you'd see the Flesh Eater Quartz monster army just bulldoze the other one, because it's going to be able to get into combat faster. It's going to be beefier and survive a lot more. And you need a lot more to go right for you in order to make the serfs list the work for the ghouls, which does make me a little sad. I love the ghouls. I think they're incredible. I think that's what I think of when it comes to Flesh Eater Quartz. It's literally just a mass horde of these just like savage cannibals that are coming in and swarming. But I don't think that's what you're going to see on the table, unfortunately. I think what you're going to see is you're going to see the monster match. It is going to do well. I'm sure at some point it's going to cop a nerf, probably after a little while. I don't know that it's going to be egregious enough to immediately be nerfed, but I think it is going to hit cop a nerf a little bit later with a different battle scroll. But we'll see. I think the Flesh Eater Quartz are sitting in a great spot. So, time to get diluted and go nuts. So, Flesh Eater Quartz players out there, let me know what you think down in the comments down below. And of course, if you like this content, please feel free to like, share, subscribe. We are growing. We're doing great. I also have a Patreon that you can come join the Discord on. I'm still working on growing that. I'm still doing the best I can to learn the ins and outs of Discord. So I'd love for you to come help me out. And that way we can talk all things AOS, 40K, Heresy. I'm having a lot of the fun painting, all that. But of course, until next time, do me a favor and go paint something.